What is going on, guys? Alexander Thomas here today. Today we're going to be looking at the first couple weeks for Sports Hour. And I will put that back up, please. And move my thing in front. So this is going to be episode 2 for Sports Hour. And basically the idea for you guys that haven't watched the last video, and I will put it over in the corner at the end of the video for this. Basically, this is a series where you guys can put your own team together that of a bunch of players that I made over the it took me about 2 years just to do this portion. And basically, at the end of 18 weeks plus playoffs, so basically 3 or 4 months. So you have the chance at getting a prize. I'll put in the comments below link to the Google Drives, which you have open. There's 2 Google Drives. One will just show you anyone who has participated in it, plus the records of all the teams and what predicted to win, predicted to lose for every team. And then also the second team. That second team will show you the roster, the ratings for everybody, who's on free agency, the playoffs when it happens, and the last couple of years for those teams being in the playoffs. I think it also shows you a couple of these. I'm going to actually hide that. So it also shows you last season's statistics. I'm just going to go and hide a few of these sheets because you don't really need to see them. And you can also see the retired list if you wanted to try to do it, but it doesn't really make much of a difference. Basically, the idea of this entire series is to be the best. And what's going to happen at the end of the season, whoever has the top in both positions, and I'll go on and get this up. I can knock that down now. Yeah, that's not going to do it. Let me see. Here it is. So there's 2 modes that you have. There's the team mode, which is each week you come through and you predict which teams are going to win, which teams are going to lose, and you get 1 point for every team that gets to win that wins, with the exception of the game of the week, which will be different each week, and that will be 2 points if you get that one correct, or if you don't get it correct in any of the cases, it will be 0 points, and whoever's the highest amount. There's also season mode, which means you'll have your own team, which I put. Here's my team, just for you guys to give you guys an idea. And what you'll do if you want to make a team, you'll sit in the comments below this video most likely, or the last episode 1 or episode 2. You'll say what players you want, and actually, really, if you can, just do all of this. The only 2 things that you need to put out there are going to be their name and the team they play for. I can find everything else out. That's not a big deal. But it's important that you put both the player, and the team name, because there are players that are repeated. What happened was, I'm going to go in. It's about 2 years ago, or maybe a long time ago, I don't know exactly when it was, I went through using a random name generator and put picked random names from it, and some of the names appeared more than once, so it didn't happen. That's why you only need to have the names of each of the people and then everything else I can get out. What will happen is you'll have your team. I'll put your team on a different sheet. This is just, or maybe on this sheet, it depends. And it'll show it. All you'll need to do in the comments is say your name, or what name you want to go by. Doesn't really matter which one. Or I can choose to comment whatever the nominee is. What 13 players you want. 13 is the maximum you can pick, and you can put as few as 5 of players if you do that. And then that's what you're gonna have. It will happen at the end of each week. I'll update your points for. Yes, you get 1 point for every player that won. I think actually it's over here. I'm sorry. This thing is the team one. This is your predictions. If you predict correctly, you get 1 point on that. 1 point on here. If you predict incorrectly, it's 0 points over. It's 1 point over here. And your objective is to be the highest overall. And the overall will automatically occur, just depending which team is supposed to have won by overall. And it doesn't mean anything. And week 1 could be half and half for overall. And I'll give you guys access to this one so you guys can see every one of the hits. You can also see the predictions for each of the games. If it's W, that's predicted win. If it's an L, predicted loss. And you can also see over here in each one of these sheets, if it's in bold, they're supposed to make the playoffs, assuming that everything goes exactly as planned. And that's what happens at each one of these things. I think the overall is also at the bottom of each of these sheets. Well, for that team, might not be for all of them, but that's the basic idea for that. And if it's not in bold, that means they are not predicted to make the playoffs at this moment in time. The way it would work for the playoffs is that it's the same way as the new NFL statistics. I got the entire season scheduled off of the 2017 schedule as well, so it's very simple. So it's very simple. It's very similar. It took me a long time to do it. This idea. You can look at the rosters as well. that's their supposed salary. When you do go through, if you want to make a team for it, the only requirements are that the total amount here cannot be over 100,000. That's the only rule. And it would be better to split them, having a 1 point guard, I think at least 2 point guards, 2 defense backs, and 2 forwards. But I'm not gonna. It doesn't matter if you do that or not. Higher overalls are gonna be better, but you don't have to. I will say this though, it would be better for you as the units to pick multiple teams. I could have picked all the Panthers. Now, granted, I would have gone 1 point, but the problem is, if you do pick, I can only get 1 point from all the players that have Panthers, unless they are in the game of the league. Then I get 2 points. Same thing for each one of these. If I get a loss, they get 0 points. So by picking all of it, you're either going to get only 1 point or 0 points if you pick all the same player. So let's assume that this happens this way. Like, this could be potentially how it worked. Let's just say I'm just randomly doing this. I don't even know. Like, this could be it. Now, here's what you have. You have all these points. You get 8 points minus the number of teams that you have played out. So, sorry, I said it wrong. You get 1 point for each unique team. So right now, I would get only this one, which would be, I get 3 points for that, and I get 3 points overall if this was 4 points if this was how it worked, because you could only get 1 point per player. Now that doesn't mean you can put them all in one team if you want to, but just know that you only can get 1 point for each one wins or 0 points. And by spreading them out, also, if a player doesn't play somehow in 1 week, which is possible, then you don't have to worry about it as much. Here's the season standings for all that. Obviously, it's all zeros right now. On this sheet, you'll see the their whole number of wins, their number of losses, the number of ties, if that occurs, their percentage, their divisional games, which is everyone in each 4. So it's gonna be this 4, these 4, these 4. Points scored, that's their total amount they've scored the entire game. And this is going to be averaged out of this one. I need to change this. This is black. And then there may be something else here, like clinch division or something like that. I don't know what I'm going to do with that. That's what's going to happen with those. Basically, this is how it's going to look. How you look. Just all you got to do is get put into this league. All you got to do is pick your 13 players. You can pick less if you want to. I would recommend you have more than more the better. And then they're the team they play for. I don't need anything else. I can figure out everything else on it. You just know that your whatever your name you want to use, put that also in there, so I don't show a name that you don't want to show. And then I'll put everything else in here, and that will be what your team picks is. And then you also appear here as both positions. The way it works is the better your team does, that's this one here, more points you get, and that means your higher position. You get a higher position. I've already picked my team for you guys to do it. If you guys want to, I would recommend not copying that, because that means you're not getting first. Your objective would be to beat me in the end. And then also each week, starting this week, or with week 1, you just say, I think these teams are going to win, and we'll get into that in a second, and then I'll put wins and losses depending on it. And the overall is going to be what team would have won if it was by overall. You get 1 point for each one of these. I'll put points here as well. That's in season mode. Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and get into week 1. Now this is we're a little bit ahead. I'm going to see here. It's because the official games don't start for 2 weeks. They start not this Saturday, but next Saturday. There may be another video starting that Thursday, so you can get your names in there. That will show you this. That will be a shorter video of who is likely more likely to win. And this is not, you're not able to see this. This is for my being tutorial, so I don't want everything to get messed up, if you know what I mean. Alright, so basically here we go. Week 1, and I have the overalls over here as on this list here. So week 1 we have, and what I'm going to do is go for each one of these. Each one of these in a regular code, each of these are 1 game, and the time doesn't really matter. You don't need to worry about that. It doesn't make a difference. I just so that it makes sense to me anyways. This is 1 game. This is the second game, and third, fourth, and sixth. Now, each one of these in the black are 1 point. 1 point if you get that one. The green one will be game of the week, and there may be multiple games of the week at some weeks. I don't know for sure at this current moment in time, but we'll get into it. And the game of the weeks, of course, in green, so you will not be able to see this sheet off either, but that's just to show you what it's going to be. And I'll be using the same sheet, renaming it every week for that. So starting off, we have the Dolphins versus the Dogs. And I'm going to go to the team roster sheet just to see what's going on here. So in this is going to be a tough game for both teams, to be honest. It's the first game to appear. But honestly, it's going to be a really interesting game for that one, because for that team in concept, where the Dogs are going to have a tougher time with that one, I believe. I gotta see what the Dogs. Our Dogs have a basic spread of a basic spread here of 267. Nope, that's their side. And then the Dolphins, they have a spread of 200 in it. So the spread and this would be the home team and the away team, is about 5 points, which just means it's a +5 for that, for the Dolphins to win at home. Rain differential is Dogs. 267. I'll use a calculator here. And what was in the home team is 2. The rate differential is going to be So the rating differential is 6 for them. So basically, basically the prediction would be that there's a 6-point differential, so it means the Dolphins have a better chance of winning. It's a 5-point spread for the overall. The prediction, and the spread doesn't mean anything, it just means there's no prediction. So I predict, in this case, that it'll be a +5. I'm going to put this in green, or maybe I should put a different color. Let me use a different color. I'm going to use dark green. There's 5 points. I think it's going to be a 5-point. I think the Dolphins are going to win by 5. That's what's happening. Then we got UNC versus the Lions. I will say the thing about the UNC is going to be awful this year. If 256 is their overall rating versus the Lions, this might be the only win the Lions get this season. And it's a 12. The Lions have the spread is so the rating is -12, which means the Lions have a much better chance of winning the game. If it's positive, it's more likely that the home team will win. If it's negative, it's likely the away team's going to win. I'm predicting that this is going to be a blowout, to be honest. I think it's going to be 13. I'm looking at 13 points. Now I'm looking at I have a different sheet over here, so it's not going to be any difference. That's my prediction for 13-point differential in that game. And I think the Lions are going to crush that game. We got the Supermen versus the Hawks. Supermen have a decent rating, 296, versus the Hawks, who have a big rating, it is a very close. This is going to be a close game in the end. It is a currently -7, so that means the Hawks have a slight advantage. I think it's going to be a very close game. I'm going to predict that this game is going to be closer to a 2-point game. Is that what I said? Yeah, 2-point game. Very tough game for those teams to advance. Then we got the Cardinals and the Falcons. This is an interesting conflict because the Cardinals have a very bad, have a decent defense, but their offense is overall offense are just not going to do it this year. I mean, the problem is the Falcons aren't really that great either. And in the end, I think the Falcons have a much better chance of winning this game. This is why I'm going to predict in favor of the Falcons in this game. But it's going to be a very close game. I think it's going to be much closer. I'm going to say it's a 3-point game. I think it's going to be very close in the end. Ethan, it does not have an S in the end of its name. I don't know why I keep putting that there. Ethan have a strong defense, 200 hits, versus the Ravens, who have a weak team. It is currently a -2 rating for this. However, I think it's going to be the Ravens that win this game, but I don't even know how they stand it. I think it's going to be the Ravens that win this game because of the context of it. Sure, neither team has a very good defense, but the Ravens have a much better offense in the context of this game. Maybe different units. I think this is going to be a 4-point game, very close. It's not going to make much of a difference in this case. What's going to happen in that game? But I think it's going to be very close. Jets play the Giants. Jets have a 284-point rating versus the Giants. Have a 262, which is actually a huge difference. It is a 20-point difference in favor for the Jets. So I think this is going to be a blowout for the Jets. I don't think the Giants, and I don't think the Giants. However, for the Giants' benefit, they do have a very good offense. The problem with this is that the Jets also have a good offense and have a great defense. So I think it's going to be a blowout. I'm going to give a 13-point advantage to the Jets. And that's my answer. Okay, Colts and Indians. I really don't know what to say about this game other than the fact that we've got a really strong defense versus a really weak offense. We got a 267 spread versus, what is it? It's a Colts game. I mean, yes. 270 versus 267, so it's actually a 3-point spread. But it's tough for me to say the Indians are going to lose this. I actually said the Indians are going to have a hard time. Yes, this is going to be a really close game in the end. Thing is, I think the Colts are going to win in this game. So I'm going to give them a 2-point advantage on this. I think, honestly, this is going to be one of the tougher games of the week. Then we got Sunday. It's the Browns. This is another game that could have easily have been the game of the week. Now, Pirates have a 275 versus the Browns have a very weak team. I don't even know what to tell you about this. I think this is going to be a blowout. But to be honest, this could potentially still be the game of could have been the game of the week if it wasn't so for all the things that happened last season, which you guys might understand. This is over several seasons it took me to get to this point. But the Browns do not have a strong team. And for that reason, it's going to be the Pirates that win this game. I'm predicting they win by 15. I honestly think that's going to be a very one-sided game. However, I could be surprised. I think the Browns might have a chance to bring it to be very close until at the very end. Browns are commonly, for people that are commonly start off really well and then just go flat in the end of the game. Oh, right, we got the Bengals and the Knights. We got the Bengals, the hefty 286 versus the Knights, who have a 42-60, which is a 20-point difference to the Bengals. And to be honest, this game won't be close. Knights have not been good. And after, if you look back at the play record for the Knights, Knights have had a average season pretty much for every of the last 4 seasons. Not really a team that's going to be a huge. However, I will say I think the Browns. I think they will have some chances in later games of the season, just not this one. 24-point differential to the Bengals. That's what I predict. The Bengals win. I probably should put this at some point. Here, if I think it's going to be the game, I'm going to go ahead and just bold it if it's supposed to be the home team that wins. Otherwise, I will keep it as it is. Where are the Lions at? Lions and the... I predicted the UNC. So, I mean, that's going to be this is going to be very close. No, this one here is just not going to be close. The Knights are commonly give up 2 points at the end of the game. Chargers and Bulldogs looking at 2 pretty evenly matched teams in this game. From what I understand, this will completely change on my team record. Complete difference in later weeks and different seasons. I mean, this is going to be a very interesting week, to be honest. For the end, the fact is that the Bulldogs are so much better, and that's what's going to be the problem here. It is a negative 15-point spread is a prediction right now between the overalls. And to be honest, I think the Bulldogs will win this game. But I'm predicting it by 8. I don't think it's been very close. I don't think it's been very difficult. It won't be very hard at all for the Bulldogs to pull this one off. However, I think it will be a much closer game than we expect. I would say it's probably going to be a very close game. Texans Saints. This is the team. This is a very weird team that last year, in the last season, tied 6 games. 6 of the first 10 games. Ties are going to be a whole lot harder to get in this year because obviously ties are not going to happen very often. There's only going to be 1 overtime. And that one, there were 2 overtimes. And it was... They had 6 ties. Basically, this Saints weren't able to keep the offense running. And that's probably going to still be the same thing this year. However, I think their defense is a lot stronger this year, and that might give them a little bit of an advantage. In that. However, the Tex have a 260. It's 269 versus what? The Saints 269. So it is a evenly match. It's an even match. And to be honest, this is going to be very close between the Tex and the Saints. However, I have to look at the offensive rating. I think the Saints are going to be slightly better in the offensive with, even though the Tex have stronger defense. I think it's going to be very close. I'm going to give a 1-point advantage to the Saints. 1 point. It's not going to be much. Packers and Westville. Actually, West Villa. West Villa. West Villa is just not good. This was not good in the context of last year's. However, the Packers aren't good either. So these are both pretty evenly matched teams in the end. However, it's only a 6-point spread. It's not a difficult game. However, the context here is the Westville is a very new team, and I will show you why, what I mean by that. If you look at Westville's stats, actually Westville, okay, it's not a new team. Not as new as I thought it was. Packers aren't new either, but if you look at the Packers record, Packers have been really good, have did terribly, then did really good, then did somewhat good, and then did terribly again. Westville has done, it was terrible, good, somewhat good, and then somewhat good for 2 years. I think this is going to be the year that they are going to be kind of in the middle of those things, probably looking more like a 7-11 record again. And unfortunately, I don't know that's going to be much. Packers, I will take the Packers in this game by 2, and I'll put these all predictions for all of those up later. Actually, let's do this. Bold. Just make it a little bit easier. The ones that are in bold are my who I think is going to win in the end. Yes, I'm going to take the Packers in this game. However, this is going to be a very close matchup, and to be honest, this could basically decide how I decide the rest of the season. Westville's not terrible. Westville's pretty bad, but so are the Packers. Packers are not good either. They're evenly matched, and to be honest, the only thing that really gives me advantage of the Packers have a better team overall, even though they do not have a great overall, and I'm going to give them an advantage by 2. Otters and Bobcats, my second favorite team, I think, on this list. Otters have had some decent times and had some bad times. The Otters of the last couple seasons, I think Otters are new. Yes, but Otters have done really well over the last season. They didn't make the playoffs last season, and they did lose, they've won against. I think they made it to the wild card and lost in both times though. So they are in a decent. This is the last wild card, but they've been a decent team. They didn't make playoffs last season. There's a pretty good chance that then they make it this year. And I think if I go back to the to their sheets, I think I do have them. I have them winning the division, being the only team that makes the playoffs. Probably because I don't think anyone else is going to be good in that division. They have a fairly easy division, and that is the reason why I do say I think the Otters will have a really good team this season. No, I'm not going to move on. However, Bobcats also have a good concept this year. Sorry about that. And the Bobcats. It's gonna be tough. I mean, both those teams. And honestly, this could go either way. Honestly, it could be one team gets a huge advantage at some point. However, the R's do have a 10-point spread, and the R's also have a much higher defensive rating than the Bobcats do, and a much higher offensive rating. So I give the Otters the advantage here. I will say 7 points is what I think is going to be the prediction for that game. I don't even need to put this anymore because it's going to be whatever the points are, whatever that's what I think is going to win. All right, and we got the Tigers and Angels, a pretty tough game. I think this is a divisional, isn't it? I think that's a divisional matchup. Tigers and Angels, that divisional? No, it's not divisional. Never mind. It's not divisional. But I think this is going to be one of those games that could be decided either way in the end. The advantage of the Tigers is they got a really strong defense. But the advantage of the Angels is they've got a really strong offense. Although their offensive rating is not as high, and they do have a decent defense as well. It is a close. The spread point is -5, so it's in favor of the Angels. However, I am going to predict that the Tigers come on top by 2 in this game, because I think in that case that the offensive for the Tigers are going to show up a lot more on this. This is going to be very close. I think it is going to come down to whoever's defense is better. Then we got the Dragons Lightning, another game that could potentially be a game of the week. However, this is going to be one of the toughest games of the week as well. The problem here is I think it's gonna be a blow. It's gonna be one of the toughest. I think it's gonna be a really tough game. However, I think it's gonna be a blowout in the end. And the reason I say that is because the Dragons are so much of a better team than the Lightning. However, I could be surprised, and because here's the thing: it's the widest margin. 25 points. Okay, 26 for the Beagles Knights, but I give it easy 20 points in advantage to the Bears. Now my spread doesn't really matter. That's my prediction of what the score is going to be. By 20 points difference, I think the Dragons are going to win for that. Then we have the game of the week. It's going to be Panthers versus Lightning. If you predict this one correctly, it's 2 points, not just 1. This is going to be a tough one. And honestly, I'm not at all surprised that this is going to be it. However, I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a sneeze. If you look at the Panthers, they have not lost any games since the fall of 2000, and they lost only in the playoffs. They lost against the Cardinals in that year. I have to know about that. So the thing is, they have not lost. However, the reason why I'm going to say that there's going to be a much tougher game is because they lost a lot of players. And if you go to retire, I wanted to retire to show you. All the players that retired this last year. Alexander Thomas retired from the Panthers, and that could be a big factor. It might not be any factor. Who knows, though? The only thing is that Alex has played for 20 years, which might be the only reason that the Panthers won so many games. But who knows? I don't think it's going to be a full decider in the end. But they do have a much better chance in the end of winning that game. It's going to come down to a big factor. It is only a 6-point differential. I predict that it's going to be a 4-point game in Panthers' favor. And you might say, well, of course you think they're going to win. Yeah, they've won the last four seasons. And they have only lost one game. But here's the factor about that. If you look at the, you'll have, I think you have access to this. Person has picked the most games. Look at the record for him. He has only lost 12 games in his career. And that will include one game in the playoffs, I believe. It also includes 11 games in previous years. But they have not lost in a long time. These are also some of the records named, but I'm probably not going to get this. In 2018, I had the Alexander Aldous Jr. Senior, scored almost 500 points, and that was a record. However, in a year, it's a little different. It was a little higher. But that's the sort of thing that's going to dance. Oh, these are the most scored, the highest 3 points scored I have in the Alexander Aldous has hands. If you have any idea who that's based off of, you can comment that down below if you want to. However, so this is what I think is going to happen in the weeks, and that you can predict what you think. The games will occur on the day they say it. I will show you all the scores in the video that happens on that Monday or that Tuesday. I don't know. It's gonna be either late Monday or early Tuesday. And this is what I predict is going to happen. It might not happen that way. For all I know, the Panthers could get crushed. The Lightning could win. Cardinals could absolutely demolish the Falcons. Saints might have another tie. Considering how close that is. But just looking at the point differential, it's a 34-point in the positive. So there are a lot more blowout material sort of things. So our prediction is that the game is going to be, all the games total are going to be decided by 125 points in the end. And this will be for week 2 as well for that. And you won't have access to this, but I'll be showing you this, who won, who lost in week 1 versus all of that. That will be shared here. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next video. I will, and about right now, the link to the episode 1 is going to be over there in the corner. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Don't forget, guys, to keep your game on, and comment down below for what you think is teams are going to win, and your predictions for week 1. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next Sports Hour.